agency in the NFL just wrapped up, and the Chargers made three nice pickups. One was Corey Linsley, as you may have heard, the All-Pro center. And then we had Feiler, who is a guard who used to be on the Steelers. And then, of course, we brought back Michael Davis as our cornerback too. So we have a few holes still left on this roster, but the good thing is that we still have about 35 or $34 million in cap space left, even after all of these signings. And yes, we need a little bit for the draft, but today I'm just going to go over really quickly what the next few days of free agency could or should look like if we want to fill those holes on our roster and become a championship contender either this year or build for next year. So this is our roster again, nothing new except for Corey Linsley and then Feeler. So we have two very good pieces at our positions uh, at our positions in the interior offensive line, and then we have a cornerback to Michael Davis next to Chris Harris Jr. So our holds are these. So a second running back, more of a power back, kind of at the 1 yard line. Austin Eckler doesn't excel in those positions. We can still get someone for that. Our tight end, we don't have Hunter Henry. We haven't re-signed him. We don't know if the front office is going to re-sign him. Our second offensive guard, and I'm assuming that we're gonna draft a left tackle in the draft, as in Rashawn Slater or Christian Darrisaw or maybe even Elijah or Tucker. So we also need a second edge rusher now that we're probably going to part ways with Melvin Ingram, and a strong safety now that Jenkins has left, and I believe he's joined the Jaguars. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. So let's fill these needs using our cap space. So let's go to our cap space, our cap manager tool, and if we go down here, you'll see I added Matt Feiler for about $5 million, which is probably going to be his cap hit this year because of the progressive contracts. Yeah, so I believe it's a $7 million per year contract, but again, because of the progressive contracts and because not all the money is guaranteed, it'll be about a $5 million cap hit this year. And Michael Davis is already added. His official cap hit is $6.4 million this year. So let's go through those needs and let's see what we can fill. So the first need that I think we should fill is that free safety. So we currently have a strong safety who's very good in Derwin James. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But these are the two free safeties I'm really eyeing. One is Carl Joseph. So he was on the Browns. He's very young. He's only 27. So a 3, 4, or 5 year contract out of him would be getting his prime years. So his estimated salary is about $8 million, which would be so it'd be $8 million per year across 4 years, so about a $32 million contract, which is definitely doable. And they have him ranked here on SpotTrack as the fifth strong safety in the entire league. So this is a very good value if we can get him. He was a first-round pick, and so let's say we sign him. I think he would be the best option right now at this point. A lot of teams are looking for strong safeties. We could still make a pitch for him. The second option is Anthony Harris. He's on the Vikings. He's ranked number 3. Of course, there's a big difference between uh, there's a big difference between being ranked number 3 and number 5. But I personally don't think uh, that huge jump in cap space is really worth it, because you could get a second player in that much value. It's more about value, not about stardom. We already have a lot of stars in Joey Bosa, Justin Herbert, and then also Keenan Allen, and then also Derwin James. So let's assume we go with the cheaper option in Carl Joseph. So let's say we sign him for $8 million. So his cap hit this year would be about $6 million because of the progressive contracts. So let's go back in here and okay, let's find where's the chart? Oh yeah, here we go. So he is currently on the Browns. So let's add him here. He is a safety, and here we found Carl Joseph. It's a $6 million cap hit, so we still have tons of cap space, $27 million. So that takes care of our strong safety position next to Derwin James. This is going to be an elite strong safety core as well as the free safety. So let's go next to an edge rusher. So we can either take an outside linebacker or a defensive end now that Melvin Ingram is gone. We can also use an outside linebacker again, just to reiterate, because of Brandon Staley's scheme, it would work very well with that. So Hassan Reddick is the name I'm really looking at. He was amazing for the Cardinals. I can't believe he's only 26 years old. It's about an 11 to 12 million dollar salary per year, so it'd be about 4 years, and I'm estimating around 44 million dollars for him. He's a very good outside linebacker. He's been used as a defensive end a lot. So I really like him. Other options include Vic Beasley. He's a lot cheaper. He's obviously not as good in my opinion. Um, Again, he is a lot cheaper, but and then Jadeveon Clowney. He hasn't been consistent to say the least. He was the #1 overall pick. Not necessarily a bust. He's just an average type player, maybe above average, depending on who you talk to. He's definitely not a Pro Bowler though. And then Solomon Thomas with the 49ers, he had very high expectations as a third overall pick. He is good, but he's not third overall pick good. And we could get him on the cheap. So I would be happy with any of these guys. I'm just assuming here. So just to build a championship roster, if we're really trying to make a run in the next 2 years, Hassan Reddick would be a really good option. So I want to sign him on a 4-year, $44 million contract. His cap hit this year would be about $8 million as well. So let's add him to the roster. Um, so after Carl Joseph, and he is currently on the Arizona Cardinals. Actually, he's a free agent now. So he's an outside linebacker officially listed. He can be a defensive end, however you want to play him. So his cap hit would be $8 million this year because of progressive contracts. We still have $20 million. We still have $20 million of cap space to work with. And I would say our next biggest thing is tight end. We don't have a tight end. We have Parham. He's fine. He only, I think, made 10 or 12 catches this year. I don't want to rely on that. We have two major options here. One, of course, is just re-sign Hunter Henry. He's very doable. A lot of teams are in the tight end market. We just saw Jonnu Smith go for a lot of money today, but we still could get him. And then there's Gerald Everett. I think he is a quality option on, not the cheap, but he's a good value pick. So I'm just assuming we somehow get Hunter Henry. He wants to stay here. Let's say both of them are the same age, around the same pick even. So in back-to-back drafts. But I personally would take Hunter Henry if we had the option. I think most people would take Hunter Henry if we had the option. So I'm assuming he would take something like a 4-year, $44 million deal. It will actually probably be richer, but if we can find a way to really backload that contract, like a 4-year, $54 million deal or something like that, and only take around like an $8 to $9 million cap hit this year, that would be amazing. It's doable. It's hard though. We can see how it works out. So as you can see here, we have about $11 million in cap space left. We do need to sign our draft picks. Let's say he even goes up to 10 or $11 million. I'd say about $10 million of a cap hit this year is pretty reasonable because we signed Corey Linsley at about $12.5 million a year, and we only pay him something like 6, 7, or 8. Yeah, we only pay him 6.6 million this year, so it's definitely doable to pay him a lot less this year because of the COVID situation. But let's say we have to go up to 10 million. We still have this much room to sign our draftees, and we're definitely going to cut a few people if we draft for all 7 rounds. We can only have 53 people on this roster, so we would easily, like, let's say we cut a couple of people, we would easily have $10 million to sign basically all of our draft picks. But let's say again that Hunter Henry only takes $8 million this year. One last scenario. I want to keep this video a little bit shorter. Anything could happen, actually. Many of these people could already be signed. I just keep checking, and again, anything is possible. So, but let's say that the next thing that happens is that we need a running back too. So I talked about this earlier in my previous video. We need someone like a Todd Gurley or maybe a James Conner to really go into the end zone from the 1 yard line. So I was really looking at those two. They have about a $5 million per year call, which would mean you'd need to pay them about $2.5, $3 million guaranteed in their first year. You can pay them 6 or 7 in the next year. So let's say we go for James Conner, and we have him here. We added him. Make sure I add him. $3 million cap hit, and we have $8 million to play with for the draft. We cut a couple of people, which we need to again to get under 53 people because we're going to add people from the draft. So yeah, we have $9.5 million, which is exactly what we need, and this is basically our roster now. Um, let's go past this. And we have Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, James Conner slash Todd Gurley. We have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, and a really good left tackle with the 13th pick. We have Feiler, Corey Linsley, and then the only remaining so-called hole is the second offensive guard. We can bring someone back on the cheap. We can use a Storm Norden, I believe that's his name. But Deontay Brown would probably be available in the third round still, depending on which board you look at. I think he would be a quality pickup. He would hopefully be at least average. Brian Bulaga is locked in as a right tackle. Joey Bosa will be rushing with Hassan Reddick, who may be a Pro Bowler type of guy. Linval Joseph, this is his last year of his contract. Kenneth Murray, Uchenna Nwosu, and Drew Tranquil. That linebacker 4 position will be fought for at training camp, and Chris Harris and Michael Davis will be a really, really good cornerbacking duo and one of the best free safety and strong safety duos in the league with Derwin James and Carl Joseph. That's it for this video. Anything could happen again. Some of these guys could already be signed as I'm speaking, but I hope we can get someone like this for a defensive end, and then also bring back Hunter Henry and just fill out this team to make it a team that can really make a deep run this time. So thank you all for listening, and bolt up.